Hello and welcome to 21st Century Vitalism, podcast asking the question, what does it mean to be fully alive, and how can we best embody and maintain that aliveness while dealing with the really strange and unique stressors of our time? And strange and unique they certainly are, my friends. We are on the strangest timeline that we possibly could have been on. These past few years have been fairly difficult for a lot of people, and it seems to only be getting more tenuous as the world stage starts to heat up, both metaphorically and literally, with climate change and the stuff going on in the Ukraine. My heart goes out to everybody who is suffering right now as a result of the actions of greedy, power-hungry people. It is what drives most of history, sadly, and the rest of us here are left to manage. And there's something very profound about that and the courage that comes from such difficult times. So to really get in step with this happening in the world, today's episode is actually very pertinent in that we're going to be diving into the Lojong Slogans of Tibetan Buddhism. Now, for those of you who are not plugged into the specific worldview, the Lojong Slogans are they're these pithy instructions that we can remember and use to better meet the experiences of our lives in a way that is more compassionate, more heart-filled, and more skillful. So we will be diving into a few of these with Hector Marcel, who is a 25-year Buddhist practitioner who is the current president of the Three Jewels New York-based Global Enlightenment Studio. And that whole thing, it started off as a bookstore, but is now an entire studio, which is specializing in meditation, yoga, public talks, and community outreach. Hector is a social entrepreneur, public speaker, and seasoned organizational change management professional specializing in performance, culture, and service. So again, these Lojong Slogans are something I'm actually personally working with on in my practice. This has been something that's kind of organically came up for me. So it's really powerful for me to have Hector on. And this is a really chunky episode, if you know what I mean. There's a lot on offer here. We get into a lot of ins and outs of Buddhist thought that typically are often misinterpreted, and I think Hector does a really wonderful job based on my training in really helping unfold some of these really complex topics. We talk a lot about emptiness. The first Lojong slogan has to do with the dreamlike quality of our lives and how, what does that even mean? Like, what does it mean when the Buddhists say that life is dreamlike? So we really dive into this because it's very important for understanding the rest of the Lojong system and Buddhism in a nutshell. We talk a lot about the nature of karma and how to generate good karma, what is bad karma, and really the complexities of that teaching, because it is much more deep than simply you do good, you get good, you do bad, you get bad. We talk a lot about overall just developing the awakened heart mind. What does it mean to cultivate bodhicitta? And what does it mean to take radical responsibility for our emotions and our experience? So this is a seriously powerful episode, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Hector is one heck of a guest, and I really hope that you hang out with us for the hour, because you will definitely, undoubtedly take something powerful away from this conversation. And if you are at all stressed about the current happenstance of life, which I think a lot of people probably are, there's a lot of uncertainty, this could really be something that you can immediately apply to your life, and it could bring you more ease and understanding, and maybe a little bit more interest in the Buddhist system. It's definitely the one that I associate with the most. There's a lot of beautiful systems out there, but this is one that really I have found to have a lot of meat on its bones. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today, y'all. If you want to support the show, please head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, subscribe over on YouTube, like, follow, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/21st Century Vitalism. Right now, the reward is just the knowing that you are supporting the show in its infancy. I know we've been doing this for a little bit now, but as we build listenership and the show gets to more and more ears and hearts, the more I'm going to be able to invest into that program, and the more I can actually make this one of my main things in life. Right now, this is kind of a passion project that I'm putting my blood and sweat and tears into, and I am really loving doing it. And we have a lot of amazing guests already on the bill coming up in the next few months. So yeah, get ready, because the show is really just kind of beginning, and you'll tell by the quality of this conversation that there's a lot of room that we're growing into. And yeah, Hector was a really incredible guest, and I'm very fortunate that our paths have crossed in the way that they did. So if you want to keep in touch with Hector's platform, head on over to threejewels.org or follow him at the Wake Upist. And with that, please sit back, drink some tea, do some stretches, and get ready for Hector Marcel. Yeah. All right. The train is now leaving the station. Hector, hello. Welcome to 21st Century Vitalism. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Nice to actually meet you. Yeah, I heard a
Yeah.
couple of your podcasts and they're awesome. So thank you for
Wonderful. Thank
doing
you
the
so
good conversation.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I've been familiarizing myself with your work the past couple weeks and kind of diving into some of your YouTube stuff, and I was like, yeah, he's gonna be a good addition to this tapestry we have. So I'm excited for this conversation as it's about to unfold. As my guests know, I am a Buddhist practitioner, but we don't really talk about it too much on the show for some reason. I'm usually exploring all these other things, so it's really cool for me to have a fellow person kind of on the path to be able to walk through one of my favorite topics that I've found, and something that I think is really pertinent to where we are right now as a world. And I really want to start off by inviting the fact that we are living in a very uncertain time. And what we're about to talk about today, I think, is going to be something really powerful for people to meet that uncertainty with a degree of precision and gentleness. So, what we're going to be talking about is the Lojong Slogans of Tibetan Buddhism. And I'm just kind of curious to start off about your experience with these, and maybe just describing, like, what the heck are they? And, you know, what has your relationship been, and how has this kind of affected your life?
Sure, sure. Before we go there, which I will, can we maneuver through practicing Buddhism as a thing? Because I have an opinion, about
Yeah. Oh, I
that.
love it. Yes, please, please.
So I am a reluctant Buddhist, and I have been for 25 years, which sort of makes you a Buddhist, and I hate that. Right? I'm like, stop it. Like I came out of Argentina. I was born in Argentina, and grew up in the Spanish culture and very Catholic family and the rest. And there was something not working in the country that I was in and the community I was in. So I said no to anything that smelled, looked like, or appeared religious, yeah, anything at all. Yeah, I'm out in my 20s. And someone had introduced me to Ayn Rand, the philosopher. And I'm like, this woman is incredible, her logic. So I collected all her books and I began studying. And I'm not a studier, but I was obsessed with the reasoning, but that she was so clear. And I bought in. So I'm backpacking around the world with Ayn Rand in my backpack. And then, like everyone in their 20s, I meet like the most hardship I had ever experienced as a person. And everyone comes to those walls, yeah? And it unravels part of you. And I was in New York, broken, and um, I bump into the place that I now run, Three Jewels, it was opening night. It was a Tibetan Buddhist bookstore, and I walk in there. I had had these crazy dreams about, anyway, things that later were very Buddhist, and I didn't understand. And so it was this kind of unraveling that I walked into a Tibetan Buddhist bookstore on opening day with Ayn Rand in my backpack, desperate for answers that I couldn't figure out, and she wasn't helping. Right.
Yeah.
And so, as a reluctant Buddhist, I met a monk, and he's like, "Oh, let's meditate." And he teaches me to meditate. And it was like a millisecond where I realized this mind of mine is not mine. I have no control of what it does at all. Not a second. Not a second. Like I was shocked. I'm like, it's my mind. I own it.
We've all been
And
there. We've sat for even a moment. It's like, oh, this is a madhouse. I don't know
like this,
anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like this. And because I'm stubborn by nature, I'm like, no, let me try again, like to focus and to I couldn't do it. And I wasn't one that couldn't do things. I had pride and all this. I'm special. And
It's amazing, like the most fundamental thing of just like using your mind to do a very simple, like, we're just going to be here. And it's just
yeah,
like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done.
exactly. And so I'm already pissed that I'm with a monk, like in a bookstore that's Buddhist.
Yeah.
Because my mind is saying this is all super religious and I'm not in for this. But it's undeniable that he had something to teach me, yeah, and that I had something to learn, and that's humbling. Luckily, I kept coming back to learn more. And it was that place where I bumped into the Lojong teachings, and not just the Lojong teachings. I walked into, it was in the 90s, so I walked into Three Jewels opening time. The lead monk was translating for the very first time ever the entire curriculum that a Tibetan Buddhist monk goes through, like a Gelugpa doctorate of philosophy. It takes 20 years in the monastery of memorizing texts on logic, sutras, compassion, meditation, karma, emptiness. Like you memorize them, debate them, study them, analyze reality and yourself. 20 years of curriculum that the Dalai Lama, the same books, has to study, were being translated for the very first time, the entire thing, into English at Three Jewels. Yeah? But it was
Wow.
slow. Yeah, and I walk into this with Ayn Rand in my backpack, and
Kind of a different flavor. It's a little different.
but the interesting thing is that there is this Buddhism I didn't know. It took me a while to understand. Isn't what it appears to be very reverent, religious, and you have to do a certain thing to be Buddhist. That's dogma. And it appears in every human system, every wisdom system. I will get dogmaed into doing something a particular way until I hold on to it and please make it work, like I was doing it with Ayn Rand. And so there are Buddhists and there are Buddhists. Just like there are wisdom beings in all other traditions, and then there are all the people that go to church and then have terrible lives during the week, but at church they're very nice. And Buddhists
Yeah.
are no different to those people. Yeah. So that's what I mean. I'm a reluctant Buddhist because the archetype of Buddhism that keeps popping into my mind is like the stupid Instagram Buddhist, where I'm like, I'm such a good person. And I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and the rest going, look at me, I'm doing Buddhism, right? But there's always that disgusting flavor of dogma that makes it hardened. And the reason it's disgusting, sorry to use strong language, is that it cuts us off from the real power of the practice that can transform this mind of ours, which is
Yeah.
the point
Yeah.
of this practice. And in particular, the Lojong practices. I mean, the Lojong practices, I got to teach this 10-week course on it. I studied it like 3 times. We cover like 5 different Lojongs. It was a secret practice up until the year 1100, meaning teachers never shared them publicly with students. It was always a one-on-one advice because they're slogans, they're pithy advices. Like if you look at a wisdom text like a Prajna Paramita, you've got 100,000 pages. If you look at the Vinaya, something like 900 pages, like the teachings on ethics and morality and vows and all that stuff. If you look at, no, that's 16,000 pages, the Vinaya, yeah?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's kind of got its own gates kind of built into it, whereas with the Lojong, it's such a short, pithy thing. You almost have to like entrust it into the transmission because you don't have the gate of 1,000 pages.
Exactly. Like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
one pager with
yeah.
three stanzas, and each word has multiple meanings because of the way they, even the word Lojong, example, okay? Most people translate it as mind training, training the mind. And that's a correct translation, but it's not really talking to the true flavor of this collection of texts. So it's a genre of Buddhist texts, a genre of Buddhist practices, just like the Vinaya is a genre of Buddhist practices on ethics, morality, behavior, and the rest. That is vowed morality. Yeah. Just
Hmm.
like the Prajna Paramita is a collection of texts spoken by the Buddha or commentaries on them about the wisdom that understands the nature of reality, right? Like
Yeah.
that's like 100,000 pages, or a Lam Rim, that's the Stages on the Path. They're all groups of textual collections that came out of what Buddha taught and then were unraveled by practitioners, and then they were grouped in flavors. And Lojong, like I said before, was this secret thing that nobody got until the year 1000. It began to be made public. Yeah, but you could find the references to them, but they were locked into the secret collection. All of a
Hmm.
sudden, around the year 1000, they begin to come out. And so, sorry to weave, but even the word Lojong I was saying has multiple meanings. Lo, yeah, means mind. Yeah. But also, it's like a synonym for sem, which is, sorry, it's a synonym for heart as well, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
heart training sounds different to mind training, especially to the Western ear. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to jong something has two meanings. It means to train, for sure, train the heart or train the mind, to train it, to jong it, in the sense of practicing something over and over until it becomes second nature. Contrived until it becomes uncontrived. Yeah?
Hmm.
That's to jong something. But it's also, there's jeng, what is it? Jeng chub. Jeng chub is another word for Buddha, to make pure. To,
Hmm.
so it's to make pure something. So that it's got this pithy words. These pithy sentences have words that have these multiple meanings. And if you're a Tibetan, you're like, oh, I'm making pure, I'm Buddhaizing my mind, which is my heart, so that
Yeah.
my heart is being developed. So the way I like and have been translating Lojong based on textual references from other Lojongs is developing the good heart.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. I
in
like
a
that.
Western sense, that means much more difference than developing IQ or something, which sounds weird, mind training. You know, I'm going
Yeah.
to
It's
train my mind and now I'm more intelligent. It's not that kind of intelligence.
right. Right.
The Lojong texts were secret, not because there's something special and you shouldn't know them, it's because they're so bloody hard to transform the heart with which you engage with the world, that it can only really be taught to people that have the stomach to work through that, the stamina, and the wisdom, the understanding of exactly how to apply. Because if you just read the sentences and you didn't know what they were saying, you could make big mistakes with your mind and harden it instead of open it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes some sense.
it does. Yeah, there's a lot of correlations I'm coming up with. I like the breakdown of Lojong to also include like the heart mind, which I mean, a lot of Lojong talks about cultivating bodhicitta, which the way that I've had chitta broken down isn't it's heart mind, you
Yeah.
know. So the reference of it being a cultivating of an intelligence, to me, my immediate kind of feeling sense was like it's the intelligence of becoming open and connected to non-referential, or like losing the reference point of yourself.
Mm.
Whereas if you like misinterpret it, then I can see it becoming this like super inwardly like me doing this thing. So what I'm kind of curious about, I didn't realize that this was like a secret thing. I didn't realize that it's kind of newer. Do you think that there's potential for mistransmission? Do you think that there's maybe like a negative aspect to it becoming widespread? And also, I mean, that's kind of for all of Buddhist teachings, the fact that anybody can pick up a book and read something and be like, I get it. You know, right? Wikipedia, you could learn everything and not know anything. you
Exactly,
know, so
exactly, exactly. Yeah, of
so
course.
with yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that's why it's vital to get a transmission, a commentary from people, beings like practitioners of the past who A, have all the other understandings that are assumed in Lojong texts, meaning, do I understand what wisdom really means? How do I apply wisdom? What is the nature of mind? How is development happen? What causes things to occur in the mind? And then with that foundation, you could have bodhicitta. You could have. Now, as an aside, Lojong is used as a synonym for bodhicitta because it's only used to develop bodhicitta. Yeah, and even bodhicitta is misunderstood. Not just to the point that you said where we get very personal and closed and it's just my little practice and I'm having my little dogma moment, which can be like fuel for negative states of mind of isolation, fuel for negative states of mind of I understand you don't, etc., etc. So it's a dangerous, sharp knife. That's why the secrecy. Yet without proper instruction, you could read this line. The one you gave me says, "Regard all dharmas as dreams," right? The translation I understood it to be was, "Learn to see all things as a dream." Yeah, which says, okay, not just regard, like learn, make an effort to learn it, because it's not just a choice of regarding. You have to develop that learning. Yeah. And if you said that to a layperson, or you put it on TikTok, right, and because you're a clever Buddhist and look at me, yeah, or whatever reason you would do that, or you were taught wrong, like you were taught not intentionally wrong, just not enough information, then you could be in a terrible situation, a bad relationship, a terrible situation at work or at home, and you're having very negative states of being, and you're like, this is just a dream, this is just a dream, this is just a dream. And you're not really engaging with reality, which is not the point of Buddhism.
yeah. The exact opposite.
It's
It's
the exact
the
opposite,
polar opposite. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so, but if I had heard that before getting trained, learn to see all things as a dream, and I had some kind of fervor, faith in these things that can help me, because people are desperate to have help. Yeah, there is a need to unravel the suffering that we all have. There's an absolute need. Yeah, to do
Yeah.
that. So if you didn't know that, you could waste 10 years of your life trying to pretend things don't exist. And that's dumb. Like it's
Yeah.
but I had to learn that too. And then learning isn't knowing. Learning is like, now I have something to jong, to practice,
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
pure this mind of mine, right? I've got to
Yeah.
jong it. And how do you do that? That's the hard part. You're in a situation at work, someone's being shitty at you, and if you want to jong your mind, you're like, okay, here's this shitty situation again. What was it? That it's a dream? What the hell did that mean? A dream, a dream.
Yeah.
It mean, and here is this is to me the fundamental core of the wisdom inside the Lojongs, right? The dream here in that one line, learn to see everything as a dream. All dharmas, right? Dharmas means all existing things. It doesn't mean Dharma as in what the Buddha taught. That's another misinterpretation. It's like,
Yeah.
don't
There's
think
like
that
10 different
anything.
dharma.
Yeah. Dharma, because it
Yeah.
comes from the root Sanskrit to dur, which means to hold up, which is a foundation. And so everything is held up, everything exists, yeah, as a foundation.
Hmm.
So anyway, the the Dharma. See everything as a dream. So I'm sitting there, I'm having a shitty day at work. I'm a good Buddhist. I learned to see everything as a dream. I don't care about this. This is just a dream. I'm not going to be like, I have wrong behavior towards a thing that is actually happening, and I'm bypassing. I'm not engaging, right? What
Hmm.
it really means, and this is hard to hear, it's difficult, it's slippery to understand. What is a dream, right? The whole idea of the world is an illusion, right? What is that illusion, dream that these Buddhists keep talking about? What does that mean? And if you get this, you will have the key to not just Lojong texts, but to every other thing taught by a Buddha. Yeah?
Yeah.
And this is, the dream is the appearance that whatever the boss said, Hector, you're stupid, was the principal cause, was the actual substance that caused my anger or depression or fear or whatever my response to that thing was. We believe that if someone comes up to you and says, Brett, you're stupid, I'm now the cause of all your troubles.
Mm.
And the fact is, and this is why Buddhism is brilliant, right? Because it analyzes, let's find the real cause for Brett's upsetness. Where is it? Is it in the words, Brett, you are stupid? Yeah? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just realized what I
I
did.
was gonna
I
say,
should have
man, you're really leaning into
I
this
should
example.
I should have switched the example to me. Sorry.
No, I like it. I love it.
So,
Gets me like, oh,
but if you hear it, you see, let's say you don't speak English. Brad, you are stupid. Just those audible sounds. Does that
Mhm.
contain in it upsetness for Brett? And when you analyze it, you're like, no, because if the upsetness was in the audible sounds, the decibels, then anyone within earshot of those decibels must instantly be upset.
Yeah. Well, my
And maybe
friends should
someone,
be.
huh?
My friends should be. I mean, the people. Wow, he's
See,
being really mean.
right, but let's say you don't have, not everyone's your friend. Someone is
Mhm.
sitting there going, finally, someone told Brett. You know, so
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
the same sounds produces 2, 3, 4 realities. One upsetness, one giggling, one shyness, one fear, da da da. Impossible. That's not how cause and effect work. And so
Mm.
the dream is, it appears that Hector saying, Hector, you're stupid. Brett, you're stupid, is the cause of your upsetness. And when you investigate, you try to look, and if you hear this, you have an amazing mind, whoever you are listening. If you investigate the decibels, Brad, you are stupid. And you look for the principal cause, the seed, the cause of upsetness in there. It must be radiating to everyone equally, right? And you cannot find it in those sounds. You come up empty. That's what emptiness means. It's like I look for the real cause of an effect, in this case, upsetness, and I couldn't find it where I thought it was. That's the illusion. It is true that you got upset because I said, Brett, you're stupid. But that's not the cause of the upsetness. It's
Mm.
like a secondary factor, we say, in like a contributing factor, we say in Buddhism. It's like the rain on a seed that makes it sprout, or the soil that makes the seed sprout, or the sun that make sun doesn't make a tomato tree plant. The seed does.
Mm.
You do need the sun. You do need someone to say, Brett, you're stupid. For
Yeah.
upsetness to have an opportunity to arise. And it appears that I caused that in you. That's an illusion. It's not true. As difficult as it is to accept, I might be the sunshine or the earth or the water to that seed. But get this, if you get this, this is another like, if you don't have the seed in your mind, to be upset from those decibels, you won't be upset. Like your friend giggled, like your enemy laughed, like I was neutral. Those seeds didn't pop from the same rain as the decibels. So it's impossible for the decibels to radiate upsetness, because if it was true, simple proof, everyone must be equally upset as Brett, because it was
Yeah.
in the decibels. It's like radiation. And that's what this line means. Begin to see every experience that you have as not true in the sense that it's coming at you. That's an illusion. That's a dream. You want to Buddha, you want to wake up. To Bud means to awake. The Buddha was called the Buddha because the dude's like, oh my God, it was me all along. Oh my God, am I the drama? Am I the one causing all my upsetness? Am I, like that's the aha moment. I mean, he's not on TikTok, but if he was, that's what he'd be saying. Uh, And so that first line, you got to Jong, learn, Lojong, develop the heart, train the heart, make pure the mind. Because in Buddhism, the mind is here. It's not up here. That's the brain. That's just an organ that sends signals. But there is something energetic in what we call our heart. And they think that's where consciousness sits, in this area. So there's another layer. So that's just that one line. Learn, Lojong, to see, like notice the experiences that are happening to you as not coming from the outside in, but from the inside out. As soon as you learn that, then the next line is what? Examine the nature of the mind unborn. Or what did you say?
The one that I had post that was to self-liberate even the antidote. But before we get to that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's some people who are hearing this idea about there being like the seed is within you and are like, man, I got a lot of seeds that are real fertile. They're really ready to take root. What is the nature of that seed? Is that also able to be considered a dream as well? Or is there something more substantial about that seed that
Oh,
requires a different, like how do we handle the seeds?
you're such a Buddhist already. Good,
Yeah.
good.
Is that going
There's
to take us way off course of the
No,
Lojong? I
no,
mean, I
no.
feel
It's
like it's.
actually going to dive deep into the essence of Lojong. Because that's what, I mean, examine the nature of the mind unborn is the next line I have for that thing. The antidote itself is gone to is, which was something that you said, self-liberate even the antidote, right? So there's a different
Mhm.
translation. The antidote, like what you should do in that moment, also is a dream. The seed that you're experiencing also is a dream. Now that's the real answer, because you cannot find a substantial nature in absolutely any dharma, any reality. And in Three Jewels, we use an example of the pen. And let me just do this because it'll cement. If you get this, this is the key. You can read any Lojong and you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah. So, like you getting angry at me saying, Brett, you're stupid, this is another example of finding the true nature or the dream nature of this thing. Yeah. So you can find the dream nature, and in seeing the dream nature, you'll get to its true nature. Yeah.
Mm.
When you see the illusion, an illusion is like, oh, that was just a magic trick. You also see what it actually is, like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, right?
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
use this example because everyone uses pens or whatever we call these things. Yeah. So when I pick this up, and I say to people, what is this? Everyone says,
It's a pen.
it's a pen. If you don't say a pen, then something's weird. Yeah, like you're alien. Yeah. And so we investigate the nature of this object, which is a cylinder with colors and shapes, right? And if a puppy dog walks into the room and they experience this same object, what do they see?
Chew toy.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you've heard me say this before.
No.
That's
Is
exactly the
that?
line I use. It's a chew toy. That's awesome,
Yeah.
right? So is pen coming from this object towards every experiencer of this thing, or chew toy is chew toy, which is a valid experience of a puppy, right? That they can't help but salivate and want to play with it. It's not like, oh, there is a pen, let me chew on it. They're not thinking that. They're looking at this and going, stupid humans, they're wasting a good chew toy, and we're like, stupid dogs, you're ruining a good pen.
Yeah.
There's a misunderstanding. There's an illusion that tricks us into thinking this is a particular way. But when we analyze it, it is a pen for you and for me. It is a chew toy for dogs, right? And probably other beings as well. So
I mean,
this is
I chew on all my pens. Does that make me
but
like
that doesn't
a
make you a
higher
dog.
being? Yeah.
But you say you chew on your pens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's. This is an emptiness exercise, and the key to everything is seeds and emptiness. Seeds is another word for karma, which is another rabbit hole which we'll have to go to, which literally means the movement of the mind, and that's key. Karma isn't like some force outside of you. Karma is the movement of the mind and what follows. That's the technical definition. And by looking at this object, your mind moved. It's like pen, right?
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
dog's mind moved. It's like chew toy, right? So that's the karma, the seed of us experiencing this thing. But so far it's theory. We're sure that this really is a pen because I know it was made in a factory. Yeah. Dogs are wrong. Right?
That's the quote I'm going with for this
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
Dogs are wrong.
Dogs are wrong.
Yeah.
And that I'm gonna go to the end before I go to the middle. That will cause conflict between us and dog and will hurt the dog because they're wrong. And that's incorrect. Because we're working with an illusion that is not valid. It's not true that this is only a pen. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now let's
Yeah.
find the penness in this thing. Get the dog, it's a chew toy. Let's get all the humans out of the room and just dogs in the room with this object sitting there. It's not a pen. It's only a chew toy. Let's kick all the dogs out and let the humans in. It's only a pen. It can't be a chew toy at that time. This is vital. If you get this, you're unraveling your mind you're beginning to see wisdom. Kick out all the humans, kick out all the dogs, not a single being in the room. What is this? And
It's
all
like
of a sudden,
Schrodinger's pen.
huh?
It's like Schrodinger's pen or
Yeah,
Schrodinger's object. It's
you're like, mine should have a kind of brain fart that says, I can't say. It's something, but I can't say until a dog walks in, or until a human walks in, or until and this is the meaning of emptiness. This object is empty of the nature of penness. It's not radiating pen out, just like my words weren't radiating Brett's upsetness. If it was, dogs must see pen too. It's not radiating chew-toyness, because otherwise that's all we would say. Oh, I'm going to write with the chew toy. You didn't. You say, I'm going to chew on my pen. You see? You follow?
yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that is
Yep.
the meaning of emptiness, which now gives us the first big Buddhist problem. Every mind that hears this for the first time, that this can't be coming to us, that it must be coming from us. Because as soon as dogs walk in, it's chew toy. As soon as humans, it's coming this way, not this way. We believe that then nothing matters at all. No dreams, everything's a dream. It doesn't exist. This isn't real. And that's also bullshit. We're talking about this. If it's not real, let me draw on your face and see if you don't have ink on your face at the end. So there's something deeper, more profound going on. Those with the seeds that ripen as pen to an object are called humans. Those with the seed Those minds with the seed that can only see chew toy are called dogs. It's not that dogs see chew toys. It's that those that are forced to see chew toys are called dogs. And so that painting you have behind you, the Wheel of Life, describes 6 different sets of minds. Yeah, it's called the Bhava Chakra, the Wheel of Life or the Wheel of Becoming. It's talking about dependent origination, how things come about. How did pen come about? How did chew toy come about? Well, it didn't come this way. We killed that with the understanding of emptiness. It must have come this way. That's harder to accept. What put the seed in my mind to have the goodness to be able to use this object, not just to dribble on, but to write poetry, to write a love letter, to make it meaningful. And this is the study of karma, if the experience of the object is blissful, positive, virtuous, like love, joy, positive states of mind, you can understand that the mind has positive causes, positive seeds. If the nature of the experience is like, this is a stabbing tool and this is terrible and it's hurting me, the seed that perceives that must be of a negative nature. And that's the collection of karmas that we have. We have both things, we'll have 3 actually. Things that trouble us, that we blame the outside world for, things that we love, and we attach ourselves and want more of them. Also a mistake, but that's another story, right? And then a whole bunch of neutral stuff that we're not even paying attention to, right? So these are our minds projecting, it's just a wall behind me. It's not just a wall. You're living in a house. The experience of being able to have shelter is a virtue. How many people are currently without shelter? And we take it for granted. Now, why I'm rambling about this dream thing and seeds and emptiness, or karma and emptiness, is without that understanding, Lojong is just another doctrinal masturbation.
Yeah.
Or really cool TikTok, look at me, I'm so clever, learn to see all things as a dream.
Yeah.
You're going to have exactly the same suffering as everyone else. You're just going to waste 10 years of this powerful potential, which is your mind, to be jonged, to be made pure, to actually understand the nature of the world we're navigating and the human condition. Now, can I push a little further on this topic and then I'll get to the Lojong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
If you got that, there's a bunch of potentially now seeds, karmas, yeah, that are uncontrivedly, like you're not choosing to see pen and then chew toys. It's not up to you. It's happening to you, but it's still caused by your mind. Sometimes you will be upset when Hector says, Brett, you're stupid. And sometimes you're like, oh, that's that stupid dad joke again. And then you'll laugh. It's not the words. It's your mind, seeds, fountaining up realities. Yeah? And those realities seem to come from the outside. That's a dream. The real cause is they are real for you, just like chew toys are real for dogs, but they are stemming from you. If you get that, you have 5 sense doors. Everything you see, this is where the Heart Sutra comes in, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, and no forms or sounds or smells or tastes or touches or dharmas at all, no realm of eyes, until we come to no mind consciousness realm, no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance. He's saying, it's not the way you think. Through your eyes, it's not coming at you. You're the projector of every experience you have visually. You're the projector of every experience you have audibly. You're the projector of every taste you've ever had. Bitter lemons don't make everybody puke. Some people love them. It's not in the lemon. So we are projecting entities, and this is getting trippy now, but we're projecting a world that intersects with other beings who project similar worlds, except dogs. They're wrong. It's not true. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because we misperceive where things come from, we fight. The conflict in the world today comes from that misunderstanding, believing the dream to be true. My view is better than yours. What I see is truth, what you see is not. Any conflict comes from that misunderstanding. And this is where the power of Lojong comes in. To jong the low, to to make pure the heart of a person with a human condition means to have this wisdom that unlocks reality for us, the way we just did with the pen. Oh my God, it is a dream. Now what the hell do I do? And then you can use the Lojong advices to say, what should I do? And all of them are developing your heart to see that we're all in the same boat. Dogs, humans, Ukrainians, Russians, every being in the human condition is overwhelmed by the projection of our reality and believing it to be coming from the outside in, and we're helpless. And that's the mistake. That's what Buddha woke up to. It's like, you're not helpless. You're a machine. Like this text called the Abhidharma Kosha, 350 AD, that describes karma, the movement of the mind and what follows. That's where the definition comes from. And they say your mind can perceivably is moving or popping seeds out at 65 times a finger snap. 65 distinct movements of mind happen every single
You
finger
are
snap.
kind of freezing up, Hector. I think I lost you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah, looks like you're coming. Yeah, you're definitely very choppy. Oh, now your camera's gone.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry. I can see
no,
myself
you're
very well.
okay. Yeah, the internet, it does that. I think I could hear you. The last thing I heard was describing the Abhidharma and that it has a description of karma.
Yeah, which is the movement of the mind and what follows. But what it says is that our minds move at 65 distinct frames per finger snap.
Hmm.
So we are having 65 seeds popping out of our reality, of our mind, of our low, to create our experience of the world. Is that any better? Can you hear me any better?
Yeah, you're coming through.
Okay, good. I'm so sorry about internet.
No, it's
Um,
okay. Yeah, internet happens.
But before we go deeper into Lojong, I want to give you a flavor because, like I said before, you got Vinaya texts in Buddhist practices, which I hate calling Buddhist practices. They are wake uppers practices. Wake
Hmm.
up. The world isn't what you think about, and it's slippery to understand what it is we're dealing with. We're dealing with our internal experience of the external, which you can never reach separate to your internal.
Hmm.
You can never see the pen from not your viewpoint.
Yeah.
You can imagine what the dog's viewpoint is, but you can't be the dog yet. Yeah, unless we talk about future lives that we'll talk about.
Is it possible, not to cut you off, but is it possible to also kind of view emptiness from that same thing? Like the way that I've been learning about it is that emptiness is very hard to actually understand as a concept, and the more that you like, oh yeah, I think I get that, like the more likely it's not actually to be, because we always perceive things as having some sort of inherent value. So is it possible that emptiness could also kind of become a concept that we then apply as like a quality onto something? Is there a way? How
Yeah,
do we balance that relationship?
yeah, good question. Um, yes and no. That can be a cop out. Okay, it can be a cop out to not really have a firm grasp on emptiness. You can have a firm grasp on emptiness on with the pen example.
Hmm.
You had a perception of the emptiness of a pen. You did. I did, right? Just explaining it. Oh, shit, it's not there. And
Yeah.
emptiness is this feeling of what I thought was there isn't there, right? And there's more to talk about. There's what isn't there. It's this thing called the gaccha, the thing that you thought existed from that side, but it doesn't. So there's philosophy around it. And you can keep studying, and there's volumes and volumes of study. But it really is that simple.
Mm.
You go looking for a nature of anything, and a pen is easy to point to because you know that dogs see it as chew toys, right? And just even visually, there's nothing here suggesting pen. It's just colors and shapes. But our
Hmm.
minds quickly construct a reality that's a positive reality. Emptiness is a negative. It's an absence of that reality in this thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And we
Hmm.
can get super philosophical, but it isn't hard. The Buddha said there's three realities. There's nungyer, which is the direct perception of things. Like you will see the color blue, you will see a shape. That, like with your senses, you experience a reality. That's nungyer. That's called obvious reality. Then there's kokyer, which is hidden reality. Yeah, which is something you have to understand through a couple of logical jumps, which we just did with this. Yeah. And then there's Shinto Kokya, which Shinto means very, very, yeah, very hidden. Shinto Kokya. And that's stuff that you can't even jump with enough logic and reasoning. You're gonna have to trust someone that you have that trust with. Like when you go to a doctor, you don't know what the hell's going on with your gut. You go to a gut doctor, they know because they've seen 20 million guts, and you trust the authority to be telling you the truth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then the Buddha said there's three levels of reality: nungyer, kokyer, shinto kokyer. And get this, he said emptiness is in the hidden reality, the one you can achieve through logic. You can
Mm.
perceive it. You can
Yeah.
understand it. It's not that hard. It's only hard because there's so much misperception around it. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Karma, the movement of the mind, the models we form about that reality. Why did I see pen and a dog saw a chew toy? That's in the category of shinto kokyer.
Mm.
Very hidden. You're going to have to ask the Buddha what the hell that meant. Go to the doctor that says, oh, listen, the way frames work. So, for example, there's correlations between what we do with our body, speech, and mind, our actions, what seeds they plant, what karmas they plant in our consciousness, and how those karmas appear. For example, so that's infinitely more difficult to understand than emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
It also doesn't mean that the first time you heard emptiness, you understand it. In fact, my experience after 25 years, I'm still unraveling emptiness. You get deeper and deeper and deeper. You think you hold an understanding. It takes like a year or two of practicing with that understanding. And then you're like, I didn't know anything at all. And it should feel blissful. It should
Yeah.
feel like, oh my goodness, I went deeper. I see more until I
Yeah.
see what Buddha sees, until I fully wake up. But those aha moments of shit, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I thought it was this, the pen thing. And then all of a sudden, your question, for example, which was, is emptiness empty too? That's really what you were asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And the answer is yes, but that's a deep spiral internal experience that's so difficult to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you understand what emptiness means, you can't talk emptiness without projections or seeds. It's
Mm.
impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness is a negation of something. You got to talk about that something that you're negating.
Yeah.
The pen is what we're negating as coming from this object. And when we look for the pen in this object, and all of a sudden the dogs are saying you're wrong, we come up empty. Okay, we just had an emptiness realization, but it's not divorced from having understood how our projections experienced pen, how the
Mm-hmm.
seeds created. So when it's like the two sides of the same coin, karma and emptiness, karma and emptiness, karma and emptiness. You can't just go emptiness, emptiness. It's always in
Yeah.
relation to the dream state, to the illusion. The antidote,
Yeah.
which is what it says, is unborn, is empty too. That's exactly that line. It's like the antidote, which is
Wow.
emptiness,
Yeah.
is also empty. And you see, like, it could just be a one liner. But if you didn't know what it's saying, so what that line in the Lojong is saying is, oh, look at you, clever Lojonger, you think you got it. Let's go to line two. You're like, I'm applying the antidote that things are a dream, they're empty of a nature, and here's the application. What I do next in relation to the yelling boss or the aggression, what I do next with my mind, body, and speech will plant a seed in my mind to create the future reality in relation to that. So when I yell at you and say, Brett, you're stupid, if your mind says, no, F you, Hector, you're stupid, you just planted more people telling you that you're stupid in the future. because you believe the illusion that I caused your upsetness. And Lojong texts are difficult because they're asking you, don't do that. Even if I call you stupid, Brett, you dumb, 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 you are so aware that this dreamlike experience must have come from something negative in my mind before, and I'm going to do everything possible not to create another negative imprint in my mind so I don't have to see stupid bearded guys telling me I'm stupid. So I'm going to say, oh, thank you very much, Hector, goodbye. Or, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, Hector, I love you. And you're planting a positive seed in the face of a negative experience. That's the essence of all Lojongs.
Mm.
It's real hard work. It's not easy. And then you think you're clever because you just applied emptiness and then you did a good action. And then the next line says, oh, yeah, that thing you just did, that's also empty. And you're like, oh,
Where
what
do
does
I
that
put my
mean?
hat?
And that means don't think that that action itself will always necessarily create the next moment to be the reality you expect. Have the
Mhm.
confidence that whatever seed you plant, whatever movement of mind you do, must have a consequence, equally natured to the seed you planted. So if you're planting anger in your narratives in your mind all the time, everyone's an ass, everyone's stupid, you will be living in a world tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow where you must perceive the dream as calling you stupid and everyone thinking you're an ass.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
also in the Heart Sutra, it says, where things are upside down. Because our natural reaction to being hurt is to hurt someone. And Lojong's like, don't do that because you're just creating more hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of brings me to one that's probably hit me the most since I have started kind of studying these. And it's one that I could see people maybe misinterpreting as being maybe a little masochist or maybe a little passive, or, and it's essentially drive all blames into one. Essentially, whenever anything happens, it's just take the blame for it, even if in a cause and effect way, like it wasn't necessary, like you weren't the aggressor, or like if someone insulted you, you take that and you don't recapitulate it and you kind of absorb everything. And that's
Yeah,
kind of feels like the next logical step from what you're talking about, because you understand that your response is your response. It's not anything that they're doing. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Does that kind of follow in a
You're,
sequential
you're
manner?
perfectly on point.
Okay.
If you don't understand that jonging your low, that developing your heart in a particular way, choosing your mind to be trained to think and experience the world in a certain way that has this wisdom that, hold on, things are my experience. What I do with my mind matters more than anything I do outside. Yeah? Because things are appearing this way, but they're a dream that way. They do exist, but they exist in relation to what I frame the world to be. So, in the face of aggression, unless it's unsafe, internally at least, you have to develop the real purpose of Lojong, which is bodhicitta. I mean, Tibet was taken over by China in the 50s. I've never once heard the Dalai Lama say anything terrible of the Chinese people.
Wow.
And he's doing Lojong.
Hmm.
I'm sure he's hurt. People
Yeah.
have died.
Yeah.
But he's regarded as the Osama bin Laden of China.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but he's not retaliating in the way we have been trained to do, which is the mistake that causes more suffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the more aggression we create, the more aggression we experience,
Mm-hmm.
because it's in us. We just figured it out with the pen.
Yeah.
It's in us, it's not out there. Is there trouble out there? Yeah, but not the seed of it, the conditions for it, which let those
Mm.
seeds within us pop up. If we don't have the seeds, we don't experience that. We will laugh at a bad joke.
Yeah.
If suffering, there are people currently in war zones who are not being bombed and some who are. And this is hard to hear, okay? But if the world is a projection, why them and not them? It's not to do with who decided where the bomb went, although that's how we think it is. That's the dream. It's got to do with the individual experience of that thing. And so it's a completely different way. But let me get to the last thing I want to say, if I can.
Mm-hmm.
There's this feeling on developing bodhicitta that is the outcome of all Lojong texts. Train your heart to see the world with this wisdom. And the logical implication is exactly what you said. Take it all on you because it is coming from you. But not because I said so, because you understand the logic. It's a foundation of truth. There really isn't a pen forcing itself from this object out. There is a pen for those that have the seeds of pen. And we have to live in that thing, right? The two sides, karma and emptiness. Karma and emptiness, yeah? Everything is like that. Every person you meet. So do the work inside. That's the Lojong work. What is coming up in your mind? That's why the disciplines of meditation are important, because you need to develop focus to watch your mind do the crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes someone says something upsetting to you and you don't get upset. But they tried and you're like, laughed it off a little bit. We're a little embarrassed. Why? It's not in the words. It's a dream that way.
Yeah.
Did they mean to harm you? Yeah, you had a perception that they mean to harm you. But you weren't hooked. Why? Didn't have the seeds to be hooked. And so all of a sudden, all that work that we're busy doing out there begins to happen in here. And that's what that means. Take it all onto yourself. You know, I am responsible for my experience of the current situation. No one else. I am responsible for the current experience of this situation. I am not that experience, though. It's like clouds in the sky. If I'm having a terrible suffering, I guarantee you it will stop. Like clouds will come and go. I am the sky where clouds come and go. That is my mind. That is the thing I'm trying to purify. Yeah? And when you understand cause and effect, or karma, cause and effect of the mind, and you come to its source, that's why the teachings of emptiness and karma are vital. You can begin to work at the real source of cause and effect, not at the sunshine and the dirt and the rain, the things that don't make plants. You're working at the seed level.
Yeah.
And then you can really get results. And there's this feeling with Lojong, which is very different to all the other Buddhist practices, this bodhisattva feeling. And the feeling, and I'll describe one of the first times it really happened to me uncontrovedly. I've been practicing maybe 10 years. My dad had an accident and I had to fly to Argentina, and he was almost passed out in a coma. He was very broken and could hardly, like he couldn't communicate. And so I'm alone with my dad in some shitty part of Argentina, like metal beds from the 50s, peeling paint. But I'm in a room by myself, like cold room, and there's my dad. Big gash on his head. He looked horrible. And he was holding my hand. And thank God for the Wake Uppers teachings. Because I know that I had to just get his mind, his low, to bring up to the surface all the seeds that are the most powerful, because that's what he was going to take on the next trip. So I just did that. I sat there for hours telling him the best things that he had done in our lives, even though sometimes he was a crazy bastard, shitty dad, like he was all those things too.
Yeah.
But on that day, I had to help his mind find more than peace, joy, find joy, as I know he was going to go. And he went, yeah. And I sat with my dad's body for a little bit. The door locked in some terrible little corner of Argentina. And I opened the door after it was time for me to walk out. And the world was doing the world thing. People are on their phones, laughing, walking up and down the hallways. And I had grief. I had my heart was heavy. And my first thought, which was stunning, was this kind of compassion for all the happy people and all the nervous people and all the old ladies in the other beds. And I'm like, shit, you're going there too. And you don't know it. Like, you're just on TikTok or whatever. They weren't on TikTok because it was a long time ago. You're just like me, and you're just like my dad. And I had this sort of uncontrived love for everyone. even the angry lady screaming on the phone, and even the whingy old bat, like I still saw the normal world, if you will, but my heart was like, we're really in this thing together, and it's up to me to choose how I relate to each one of you, because I want this peace of mind for all of you. I want you to know that this is what I just experienced is coming at a cinema near your projections, and I want you to be prepared. And so I had this kind of compassionate love and wish that all of us could jong our lo in a way that lets us be better with each other in the face of terribleness. And that's a real purpose of Lojong. To have developed, that's when you know your practice is taking off. It's got some effects. But I'd been studying it for a decade, you see, before I could have that uncontrived result from understanding that the dream needs to be engaged in a way that I would like the next dream to be the better dream. So love everyone, even contrivedly. That's what take on the responsibility. That's what all the texts mean. So you can have a real experience of walking into a room, and even if the boss says you're stupid, you have a kind of compassion. Oh, what a dumb idiot, but I love him. I hope he's not such an ass to his family or something. Like there's 1,000 different options you could think of rather than being upset. That's real Lojong. Yeah.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is really powerful, Hector. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's probably the best ribbon we could tie on this conversation. So I want to say thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and insight. We definitely went more into emptiness than I thought we would, which is interesting because it's just what I've been learning a lot the past couple weeks going through the Heart Sutra. So just a lot of weird synchronicity in my life regarding that topic, and you really helped elucidate a lot. So
Yeah.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Where,
No, it's
where,
my pleasure. I can talk about this non-stop. In fact, I do. That's all I do
yeah,
now. Even
yeah,
in organizations, I go in there, they call me for corporate consulting because I'm a change manager by profession. And I just get to this point. I'm like, the only way you're going to turn your organization is like behaving the way you'd like the world to be. Like Gandhi said, it be the change you want to see in the world. That's it. That's the bottom line. Why? Because seeds work.
yeah,
Because they're empty. Yeah.
yeah. It's a powerful realization. Well, where can people find you? Where can they plug into your platform? How can they get involved? Because I'm sure some people are going to be interested.
Yeah, sure. So the best place to connect is go to threejewels.org. So Three Jewels is where I learned these things. We teach these things. There's a course on logic coming up. That's really strong, right? But there also this. We're a nonprofit, so we've been around 25 years. It's a it's a Buddhist founded nonprofit. Our job is to train people in meditation, yoga, Buddhist philosophy, and the act of service. So we go to communities and places that don't normally come to yoga studios, and we go to them, we train teachers, and then they train those communities. We go to people that are in transitional housing or homeless shelters, people, because anyone with a mind can get wisdom. It doesn't cost anything,
Hmm.
right? I mean, it costs to come to Three Jewels because we've got to pay rent, but our job as a nonprofit is that. So threejewels.org. And since we're on the topic, if you're interested to be part of the study at Three Jewels, there's online and in-person classes. The online classes, because we're a nonprofit, are free or by donation, but they're this kind of talk, like they're these courses. We go to the text, we get really nerdy about it, and then we do the bridge into real practical application in the workplace, at home, and the rest. Without that, we're just masturbating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that kind of Buddhism.
Hmm.
You can go to Colombia for that.
Right.
I know things. There's knowing things and there's knowing things. And before this body expires, I'm committed to jonging this low. So whatever happens next has that quality and not this quality.
Yeah.
So come to threejewels.org, or you can check me out on my Instagram or Three Jewels Instagram or TikTok. I think I'm the Wake Upist or Wake Upist. Instagram. I just encourage people to come and get involved. And there's lots of activity. We go to nonprofits, there's volunteer work, we do special projects overseas. We're about to have this most amazing event called the Med Gala, the Med Gala, the Meditation Gala, right?
Okay, yeah.
The same week as the Met Gala, don't tell people. Yeah. We're sort of trolling the Met Gala. And we're gathering the clan of all wellness in New York and in the US and some abroad. And we're just throwing this massive, joyous party at the infinite potential of the human mind and how we can access that potential through meditation. So it's a gala, it's a red carpet event. It's fun. There's like really awesome musicians, which I can't disclose yet, coming to play. And you can see that at Three Jewels as well. I hope that answered it. It's not too much of a plug.
No, that was just as much of a plug. I'm also going to plug for you. Your YouTube channel is pretty stocked with some really wonderful lectures as well. So, I encourage people if they enjoyed what you saw here. You have your classes, but also those videos are pretty hefty. They got
They're heavy.
a lot of meat to them. So, as somebody who likes nerding out, I definitely suggest that. Yeah, Hector, thank you so much. Hopefully, we will see you soon on the show, and keep on digging in.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thanks for doing this good work.
Of course, yeah. All right. Be well, friend.
Okay.
Much for listening all the way through till the end. This one was a really easy one to do. I'm sure I was really glued to the conversation as we were having it, and it was kind of hard to stop talking, but you have to kind of do it sometimes. That was Hector Marcel. You can follow him over at The Wake Upist over on Instagram or his website, threejewels.org. He's got a bunch of online content. He's got a lot of cool YouTube videos, as we talked about. If you want to support this show, head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us that 5-star review, subscribe over on YouTube, follow Instagram, Facebook, respectively, and head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/21st Century Vitalism, and get on board that early starter pack situation we have there, and keep an eye out for future updates. All right, y'all, we'll see you in a week. Bye.